Vocals, a major part of almost all music in our contemporary world. In fact, it's one of the biggest reasons my channel has been doing so well. So when I asked you guys what video you wanted next, and literally almost 1,000 of you said how to mix vocals, I couldn't pass up the opportunity. So with all this being said, after many requests, I have finally decided to release my acapellas and vocal chops sample pack. Link in the description. This pack is absolutely filled to the brim with over 25 acapellas and vocal chops completely written and sung by me. On top of all that, I've decided to include all of my major project files as a bonus just for you guys. As a Christmas deal, I'm also discounting the pack for the next 24 hours, so make sure to click the link in the description so you don't miss out. So without further ado, let's get into it. To start mixing vocals, you first need to know how to write vocals. And even if you already have a pre-made acapella, it's important to help your writing process. There are many different ways to start writing acapellas, and ultimately it boils down to a lot of subjectivity. For my writing process, I like to start with a melody that can be written down and work from there. For the purposes of this video, I've written this. Next, start adding a bass line that complements this melody. It's important to try and keep this simple because we'll be using it later as a reference for our harmonies. Here's what I made. Next, I try writing a dummy line of random words that pop into my head and then try and match them to the melody. In this case, I wrote, "I think we're better as just friends." From this point, you want to find a resolution to the beginning line. In my case, telling the person why you'd be better as just friends. So I wrote, "I think you talk a lot and that just bothers me." Now that we have our first phrase, let's try recording it. For a microphone, I use a Sterling ST55, but with the way we're going to mix these vocals, you could get away with just about anything. Normally, I'd auto-tune my vocals a little bit, but with this vocal, I prefer the raw sound. If you do need to auto-tune, I'd recommend using plugins like Newtone or Melodyne, rather than real-time auto-tune plugins like Pitcher and Antares. This way, you can achieve a much more natural sound. Here's what they sound like. "I think we're better as just friends. I think you talk a lot and that just bothers me." My specific microphone has a lot of low end and lacks some high frequencies, so I always start off by adding a high pass filter at around 185 Hz and boosting the high end towards 8 kHz. "I think we're better as just friends." Next, to fill up the space, I add reverb with a relatively short decay, large room size, and low wet amount. It's also very important to add a high cut to your reverb, cutting all of the low frequencies to avoid a muddier mix. "I think we're better as just friends." For pretty much all vocals, you're going to want to add a soft de-esser to lower those harsh S and T sounds. "I think we're better as just friends." Next, I add a noise gate to remove any unwanted background frequencies. Keep the threshold pretty low depending on your environment. "I think we're better as just friends." Next, you're going to want to add some pretty heavy multiband compression. For this, I like to use OTT because of its upwards-downwards compression. This plugin is free and I'm pretty sure most of you use it already. "I think we're better as just friends." Finally, I like to add a soft clip distortion at a very low percentage just to warm up the lower frequencies and add a few higher harmonics. "I think we're better as just friends. I think you talk a lot and that just bothers me." To start my harmonies, I always like to sing a falsetto layer using the same melody as our main vocal. I prefer heavily auto-tuning and distorting this layer to get it to sound as non-natural as possible. To add some width to the vocals, I try to sing the main vocal melody another 2 times, but this time as breathy as possible. Afterwards, I'll pan each of the takes to the left and right and add a pretty heavy high pass to them. Altogether, this really brightens up the whole vocal. "I think we're better as just friends. I think you talk a lot and that just bothers me. I think we're better as just friends." For the bass, I like to incorporate something that initially sounds really dumb, but can turn out sounding pretty cool if you do it correctly. To start, I simply talk the vocals into the microphone in a relatively deep voice. Next, I make sure everything is quantized and drag it into Newtone or Melodyne, and auto-tune it to the same bass notes that we previously used when writing our melodies. "I think we're better as just friends. I think you talk a lot and that just bothers me." For harmonies, I think it's important to look at which lines your vocals are supposed to be your punch lines, and add emphasis only to those lines. In this case, I think it's "that just bothers me." So I went back to our melody and at that point wrote a parallel harmony. To give it even more emphasis, I sang it in 2 different octaves. "And that just bothers me." Finally, just try adding some ad-libs here and there and you should have some finished vocals. So with everything together, let's hear a couple finished results using the same processes.
I think we're better as just friends. I think you talk a lot and that just bothers me. I think we're better as just friends. I think you talk a lot and that just bothers me. Speechless, dreaming about those sleepless nights I had without you. No place feels like home. So turn the bass up. Got a lot of people want the bass up. Made a lot of money with the bass up. Girl, I had no worries cause you always made me smile. You could take the pain away, your mind after mile. Hope you stick around for me, or maybe just a while. Just to watch me bleed a little, left my heart a pile.
I really quickly wanted to say thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, make sure to hit the like button, and if you want to see more videos like it, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Thanks for watching, and cheers.